Hi, great.
We just wrapped up not too far from you, the Turtle Hospital in the Florida Keys.
I know, I watched.
Yeah,
Awesome place. It's Turtle Day too, isn't it? World Turtle
you
Day,
know what?
or
I think you're
I think it
absolutely right.
is.
It's either
Yeah.
today or tomorrow. It's one day this weekend. We'll have to
Yeah.
confirm that. So good thing we got to spend some time with the turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah. How you doing? It's great to have you joining us at this
I'm
wild weekend.
I am happy to join you. Yeah, very happy to join you. Thanks for
All right.
including me.
Oh, of course. We're thrilled to have you join. We're thrilled to have your perspective. So Nicole Stott has explored from the heights of outer space to the depths of our oceans. Her two space flights totaled 104 days living and working in space on both the Space Shuttle and the International Space Station. She performed a spacewalk. She painted the first watercolor in space, which I think is pretty darn cool. And she's an aquanaut. She took part in an 18-day training on the Aquarius undersea habitat. She's also, as an artist, is the founder of the Space for Art Foundation. So combining her artwork and spaceflight experiences to inspire creative thinking about solutions to the challenges our planet faces, to raise awareness about that interplay between science and art. And I always like to end with this one. She was in a Super Bowl commercial in the last Super Bowl. That's pretty darn awesome.
In a spacesuit.
I mean, of course, why not?
Get better
It's
than that.
amazing to have you joining us because you've got this perspective of leaving the planet and looking back on it, as well as living and working underwater. I think you've had some perspectives on biodiversity, our planet, and just how fragile it is.
Yeah, I think so. I'm so thankful to be here and like to join this just really wonderful group of explorers who share all of the, I don't know, sometimes otherworldly nature of our planet with us, right? And bring us in like really close to see all the life we share it with. And hopefully after we talk, there'll be, I think there already is amongst this group of people, but an understanding that, man, the planet itself, I think, is alive. It's part of that whole biodiversity that we're celebrating in this festival. But you just tell me. I've got slides. I will run through them super fast. I hope. You know, I'm a rambler, and then hopefully we'll have some time for some questions too.
No, I love it. Speaking of the world, we've got the UK, the US, Canada, Argentina, Costa Rica, Hungary, Mexico, all tuning in right now. So it's been just a total blast to see all of the countries around the world tuning in and celebrating biodiversity with us. Excellent.
And I'm going to shameless plug here, since you mentioned the Space for Art Foundation. I just invite kids from all of those countries and more to please join us on our Space for Art Foundation projects. Feel free to check it out and send your art. We might put it into a spacesuit like that one behind me and send it to space. That would be cool.
All right. Excellent plug. Right. If you're ready, go ahead and share your screen and
okay.
We'll roll.
All right, let's do this. Actually, let me click these little buttons down here so it does its thing there. And share. Did it work?
It's loading. Oh, okay. Yeah, that looks good.
All right. Okay, cool. So I'm going to start out today with this beautiful, I hope you agree, image of our blue planet. And I'm just going to address this idea of flying in space. We go to space and we do really complex things. I mean, to get there, launch off the planet is a complex thing. To just live and work there for a little while is really complex. And then to get home safely. And yet in all of that, the science, the engineering, all that goes into it, I can tell you, I think all astronauts come home with an understanding, I think, of the simple truths, and we want to share them. And I think this picture is a beautiful way to do that. And that just to remind us that we live on a planet and we are all earthlings, and only border that matters is that, I'm pointing at it, I don't know if you can see it, thin blue line of atmosphere that blankets and protects us all. I think that's something I think about every day. I love to share it so that hopefully everybody else brings it to the front of their thoughts too. Quickly on the spaceflight stuff, because I think it is all about perspective. It's about how we experience new places and understand, who and where we all are in it. And this is a picture on my flight home after my first flight. I had lived on the space station for a little over 3 months. And this one picture reminds me of what it was like to be in space. It's really beautiful. And while the silhouette of Atlantis here looks, like it's just hanging there still, I know that we were traveling at 17,500 miles an hour, which is about 5 miles a second, which means we go around the planet roughly every 90 minutes, and we get one of these stunning sunrises or sunsets out the window about every 45. That is something that leaves an impression on you. I was inside that little silhouetted shuttle with my 5 crewmates after our successful mission going home. And I know that my friend Jeff Williams, who I'd spent those 3 months with on the space station, was there and took this really incredible image for us. Very quickly, here's a group of people that I was selected into the astronaut office with. And this is a mix of people that from all different backgrounds. We came to this place in all very different ways. I was listening to one of the explorers earlier today who was talking about how, you think you're off on one path and sometimes you get diverted and you end up doing something completely different in your life than you ever expected. And I guarantee you a lot of us in this place might have wanted to or thought we could be, but never really expected that it would happen. And I especially share this picture because there are 2 gentlemen in this photo who will be launching off the planet next Wednesday, I believe it is, the 27th. That will be the first time in 9 years that we've launched human beings from US soil on one of our own spacecraft, heading to the space station on the SpaceX Dragon capsule. And that's Bob Behnken, who is right above the patch in the bottom left, sitting right next to me. And then Doug Hurley, who's kind of up in the middle in the back row. What would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 from the right. Those 2 guys are heading to space next week and really excited about that. Highly recommend you watch that from wherever you can. As Joe mentioned, we train to live like crew wherever we are, to work like crew, to be a team. And we have the opportunity to go and do that in some really extraordinary places. And the absolute favorite of mine, not just because it was an awesome experience, but because it did help me prepare for what it would be like to live in space. And I think it was the best preparation for that, was to spend 18 days living underwater on the Aquarius undersea habitat, right down the road from where the turtles are off the coast of Key Largo. And it's an extreme environment. Once you're down there for an hour, you're not swimming to the surface safely. So you're behaving like you would if you were on a spaceship and having to deal with any challenges that come your way at that place. But I will tell you, in terms of experiencing Earth, the life of our planet, getting a perspective that's so different than I think anything we experience on a day-to-day basis, just walking around on the surface. To experience inner space like this, to see the life that surrounded me, that at times I thought we had these 2 ginormous grouper that would look in the windows of the habitat. And I really, every time I saw them, I thought, man, they're probably looking at us like, who's in the tank now? Who do we got to see that's representing those creatures that live on the surface? But just a wonderful view of Earth, this inner space that helped us prepare to go live and work in outer space. Where I lived and worked, both of my missions was on the International Space Station. I hope everybody knows about the International Space Station. This one chart or slide I could speak to you all day about. Joe knows that I can ramble on about these things, but this is the best example of living off the grid. Right here, we created this mechanical system in space to mimic as best we could what Earth does for us naturally. That a life support system in space. All of our power is coming from those big solar arrays, collecting the solar energy. We live inside the modules that look kind of like soda cans, and we're floating around in, atmosphere just like this. But all of it, we're recycling all of the moisture, including our sweat and urine, to create clean drinking water. And it's just an incredible place for that alone, but also for the science that's going on there, that's all about improving life on Earth. And for the reason that this one place has brought together people from our planet in such a peaceful, successful way, from over 15 different countries that are represented every day by the crew that lives and work there, and by the thousands, tens of thousands of people down here on Earth that across the 5 different international space agencies that make it happen. I honestly believe it is the best example for how we should be living and working as crew members here on spaceship Earth. We build that mechanical system in space because we want the warm, fleshy ones. You know, we want the human beings to be able to live and work there, to do the science that's all about improving life on Earth and establishing these relationships. These are the guys that I spent my 3 months with on the space station. We normally only have a crew of 6. There's 9 people here because we had sent 3 up before 3 came home. But I love this picture because I think it shows in all of what we do, even really complex things like exploring the planet, you want to do that with people that you know you're going to enjoy the experience with, right? That there's personality built into your team, but you also want to know that when it hits the fan, when things don't go the way they're planned to, as they will, that those people will have your back. And these folks were absolutely that for me. And I'm hopeful, I think I know that they felt the same way about me. My obligatory got to do a spacewalk picture. In these times of isolation, I'll tell you, I think about this photo. This was the most isolated I have ever been in my entire life. That's me strapped into the end of the robotic arm, so sticking out about at least 30 feet from the space station, hanging on to this box, this science box that would weigh about 900 pounds down here on Earth, but you know, I could do anything with it up there. And just, you know, understanding, you know, where I was, but at the same time feeling more connected to everyone and everything around me because I knew my crew had my back. I knew my team inside the spaceship. I knew the folks, you know, that were watching me down on Earth were there for me, and just, you know, a really incredible experience. We also go to the station, you know, it's a laboratory. We're going there to study different things. Pretty much any area of science you can imagine is represented through the work we do on the space station. And it's a unique environment to do that because we can take gravity out of the equation. We can look at things we thought we knew really well, you know, from this kind of 1G experience we have down on the planet, and we can take it to space, take gravity out of the equation, understand it in a completely new way. I think it's a perspective, again, that's offered that allows us to be curious and to learn and explain even more about who and where we are together in space. Because there's not there's not a lot of nature, you know, in terms of biodiversity inside of the space station. It's pretty low numbers. You know, there's the people, there's our microbiome, I guess, there's whatever kind of microscopic stuff is going on in the air and on the surfaces, but otherwise it's pretty limited. We love it when there's things like plant experiments on board because that gives us, again, this connection to nature. We know we're studying something that can help us on Earth and can help us explore further off the planet. And, you know, the other way we experience nature is through the windows of our spacecraft. I am in awe of the view I had. I am still like surprised that I was, you know, afforded that experience. You know, these pictures remind me that I had that experience, that I had this world just kind of open up to me through the windows. If an astronaut has free time, their face is in front of one of these windows, just, you know, just experiencing Earth as this planet, understanding that Earth is a planet that itself looks alive. I remember watching lightning strikes, you know, across the planet where, you know, when I am here in Florida, I think of lightning just above me and it is trickling around the planet like almost like neurons firing is what it looks like the nervous system of this place that gives us life. When I got to space, I wanted to see things that were familiar to me. I think we all do that. We get to places. I'm imagining every explorer, whether they're going to someplace they've never been before or they're going someplace they've been, they're looking for something familiar to them first so that they can kind of gauge where they're at and what they're doing. You know, and Florida was that for me. When I got to space, I thought of Florida as my home. I'm in Florida right now, and I wanted to see it from space. And it's gorgeous. It's as stunning from space as it is, you know, down here on Earth. There's an evolution, though, I think, of looking out that window, of wanting to see the familiar and then getting your brain wrapped around something that is very unfamiliar. Like, this is my crewmate, Al. crawling along the bottom of the space station. That blue glow is Earth 250 miles below him. And when you first look at that, you have to think, oh my gosh, why isn't Al, falling off the station? And then you remember, okay, we don't have any sense of up or down here in space. So Al just feels like he's crawling along the floor. Really interesting how our brains and bodies can work that way and adapt. No better place than looking through the window of a spacecraft to understand the geography of the planet, to get to know it. As a crew, we would challenge each other to, if we knew we were flying over some place that kind of stood out, like the pyramids in Egypt, we would pull out the big zoom lens, because you can use the big 1,000-millimeter zoom lens and just, with ease, and, try to find these things. And you get to know the planet in a really interesting way. You recognize where places are through the patterns, like the desert patterns, the ocean patterns. You just know, okay, I'm over the Bahamas now, or I was over the Sahara before. And then it becomes this, almost this lesson in just the surprise, the next surprise you're going to see out the window. And this picture, again, zoomed in, big lens, a little heart-shaped island in the Red Sea called Dahul. And I mean, I looked at this kind of thing and remember thinking, man, God must have such a wonderful sense of humor, because these things are everywhere. And I'm fairly certain, as we explore it from space and see it, or when explorers are down on Earth or in Earth, they're finding these same kinds of things. And I think we're meant to discover them. It's like the art of the planet. And we see things that, really, to me, started looking like artwork on Earth. This is a salt lake in Australia, wide, large, expansive salt lake that, to me, looked like a Georgia O'Keeffe painting of a flower. That opportunity to travel around the planet every 45 minutes with one of these sunrises. I don't know what's happened with my buttons here. Sunrises or sunsets where, you really get an appreciation of how thin that blue line of atmosphere is. This is absolutely my favorite picture that I took from space. Tiny little chain of islands on the northern coast of Venezuela called Las Rocas, where to me it looked like somebody had reached down already with a paintbrush and painted a wave on the ocean. And these things are there for us to discover. But that evolution of looking through the window, of getting to know the planet together, of having looked for things that were familiar, of thinking about Florida as my home, really evolved very quickly to understanding that this planet is my home. And Florida is in this picture again, but I look at this picture and it's like Florida is just part of this beautiful planet that we all share. I mean, really a stunning, glowing, iridescent jewel of life. And, we've been exploring space for a long time. As human beings, we haven't gone any further than the moon, and hopefully we'll be going back there. But our robotic spacecraft explore out into the solar system and beyond. And I think even as we explore right here on the planet, as we continue to do that and learn more and more, ultimately what we're looking for is that connection to us. How do we relate to everything, not just other human beings, but all life and nature that surrounds us? And in this picture of Saturn taken by a Cassini spacecraft, we find that too. That tiny little dot of light is us in this picture. This picture is absolutely, I think, the favorite of everyone when it comes to understanding who and where we are together in space. A little over 50 years ago from the Apollo 8 mission, coined Earthrise. And that was the first time as human beings we had the opportunity through those crewmates' eyes to see Earth like this, hanging, rising over the horizon of another planetary body. And it absolutely expresses to us that we live on a planet, that we are all Earthlings, and the only border that matters is that thin blue line of atmosphere. And I think all of you already know this, but I would ask you to leave here today, as we're looking at all of this global biodiversity and the significance of it, and to leave with respect for it, maybe more respect for it, and to understand that we really do need to behave like crewmates here on Spaceship Earth. And I went fast, Joe. I think I went fast. Let me stop share. Back to Zoom.
Oh man, I just said the best things ever. I'm not going to be able to match that. Just imagine how great it was and multiply.
Did I ramble longer than I thought I did, or did I
No,
get us
you did
time?
great.
Okay, all right.
Right on with the timing. I was just saying,
Excellent.
you know, what a great presentation, looking back at Earth, realizing what we have, you know, and then being up on the space station, having that little tie, that little plant that just makes you feel connected back to home. Really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. You know, this whole festival and the presentations that are being made today, you know, I tried to find some images that zoomed in, you know, that gave a little bit different feel of the planet. I could show those all day. I love it. But what I like is that, you know, how we discussed at the very beginning, we need to keep zooming in more. It's kind of like the backyard biodiversity thing you got going on, where we need to really appreciate and take the time to be in awe, to appreciate the wonder that surrounds us every day.
Thank you for that wonderful plug for backyard
Yeah.
bio. We are encouraging people to get outside, look around their backyards, front yards. If you can go a little further out into your neighborhood, if there's a place you like to go for a walk, and share some of that biodiversity from around the world. Instagram, Twitter with the tag backyard bio. We've had some great stuff come in today, Nicole. Legless lizard, echidnas, cockroaches, anoles, all kinds of life, lichens, plants. So people are getting outside and it's great. They're looking in areas that maybe they don't usually.
Good.
All right. We have a couple of questions that came in on the younger side. So we're going to visit our...
Those are the hardest ones.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, here we go. I'm going to give you a two-parter. The first part is from a grade 7, a 7-year-old who wants to know what it's like in a spaceship. And a 9-year-old wants to know what's the weirdest thing you did in space.
Oh, wow. Okay. So those are a good question. What's it like in a spaceship? Well, you know, there's riding in the spaceship, like launching off the launch pad, like Bob and Doug are going to do next week. And that is, let me just tell you, that's a wild ride. You know, you've realized how much your body can shake. You're thankful that the spaceship and that you can hold together when that's happening. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Getting to space, I think I'll concentrate that a little bit more. You know, we really do. Our bodies and our brains adapt to these new environments, right? And so you go to space in this microgravity environment where you're floating. And we're so used to walking in, it's like two-dimensional kind of translation and movement, right? You go to space and you get to move in all of these directions. I mean, the closest thing is to go into your pool or into the ocean and feel, you know, feel that kind of three-dimensional motion. But in space, that's what you're living every day. And it's so much fun. It's so much fun to be able to do science when you're moving that way, to be able to talk on the phone to your family when you're moving that way, to do a spacewalk when you're moving that way. And yeah, just it's super fun. I guess I could be the easy answer. And then the second part, the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, there's a lot of weird things actually that they don't, you know, you don't know about until you go. I think more people that, you know, because all of us were so surprised by it. Why isn't anybody telling us? Like the smell of space. I think that's kind of a weird one that I remember where, you know, you can't go outside and smell space because that would be a bad day. But the way we experience it is like if somebody comes in from a spacewalk, or you get a spaceship that docks to the space station, and then you've got to open the hatch, and that hatch has been exposed to the vacuum of space. And there's this smell that's on all of these things that have been exposed to space, which I remember it being like kind of like a sweet metallic smell, almost like an overheating car radiator, or you know, metal when it gets warm and is, you know, kind of rubbed together. Not a bad smell, but absolutely everything that was exposed to space had that smell. And that was kind of weird. Yeah.
All right. Good one. I've never heard that before. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that. That's neat. I have another question that just came in here. And this is about challenges that young women face in STEM careers. Have you experienced challenges in your career?
I have experienced challenges. I think most of those have been challenges that, everyone probably has as they're trying to figure out, what do you want to do? Things like second guessing yourself and kind of taking yourself out of the running of things. I do think young women tend to do that more than boys. We tend to want to feel like we're going to be perfect at something before we even apply to be considered. I know I did that. And because of that, I'm very thankful for mentors that encouraged me to take a chance and, like fill out the application to be an astronaut. One of the things, just in the simplest way, that I like to say to young women and boys as well is, the rocket ship, it doesn't care if you're a boy or girl, right? And I think that's the way you have to go into it, is like, I need to know how this rocket ship works. I need to do my best in how I'm learning that and how I'm going to work on it. And that's what, opens up some opportunities for you. I will say that I'm not, I can't say that things don't happen out there. And we need to be out there watching out for each other too. As women, we need to be lifting each other up and supporting each other and all of these things. And like Joe, I would ask you, if I was working with you to help lift me up, I would be lifting you, in figuring out what you want to do and how you want to do it, and your path to success. So
yeah, absolutely. So we've on Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, we've been lucky in being able to host several astronauts, and they share a similar experience where when you leave the planet, you see it in a whole different perspective. Borders don't mean anything anymore. Your home isn't so much like New York anymore or Florida. It's home. Do you think, if we could take everybody to the space station for 1 minute, do you think that would have just this profound impact that would flip a lot of switches?
Excuse me. Yeah, I do. But what and with what Bob and Doug are doing next week with the launch the mission they're going on, that's a path to opening that up more and more to more and more people to have that opportunity. I so look forward to that. I mean, I want to go to space with my son and have him see this too, with my grandchildren. What I think though, is that we have to, and it's why I love what everybody else has been sharing today too, is that same awe, that same wonder, that same feeling you can get in you about who and where we are in space together, traveling on this planet that supports our life so beautifully. I don't know if anybody else said it earlier or not, but a little bit closer, a little further from the sun, not so good for us. This place has been set, like it's here it's our place, right? And so the more we explore what surrounds us, not even as professional explorers, but like you said, backyard bio, the more we do that and understand this interconnectivity of every single thing that we share this planet with, everyone can have that same feeling that you get when you look out the window of a spaceship. Yeah.
All right. Well, Nicole, a huge thank you for joining us today. Thanks for sharing your perspective. One day we're going to host you and just go underwater. We'll do the Aquanaut.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Let's go visit Aquarius again, or you take me somewhere I've never seen before.
All right. Sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you. Have fun with the rest of the festival. I'm going to keep watching.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Nicole. All right. Quick transition to our next event. I'm going to let Sven Lindblad and Kristen Hederman in very shortly, but a few quick little reminders. Don't forget to be sharing on social. So much good stuff happening on social media under that hashtag Global BioFest. It's great to be seeing the pictures coming in from outside, from cockroaches to lichens, from lizards to echidnas, crocodiles, and everything in between. So Backyard Bio, keep those pictures coming on Instagram and Twitter as well. We're doing great today. We've raised almost $2,000 for the organizations that we're raising funds for, the conservation groups. So take a little visit to our website. There's a GoFundMe page there. There's also a direct link if you want to use PayPal instead. Please support the groups we're working with. We have one more event after this in half hour at the Toucan Rescue Ranch in Costa Rica. And wait till you see the work that they do and the animals that they work with. It's pretty spectacular. Don't forget, Slido's open. Send your questions in. Find the links to everybody's event under their speaker page. And let's keep things moving right along. letting in our next guests now. All right. There they are. How you doing? How you doing, Kristen?
Hi.
How are you?
All right. Well, it's incredible to see you, two of my favorite people. Oh, Kristen just disappeared into the background.
Oh,
There we go.
How'd that happen?
We lost you for a second.
Oh, you just flashed. She must have magic powers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, it's so good to have the two of you joining us today. This has been a wild weekend so far.